check.
Hello, hello, hello.
Okay.
Okay.
How did that sound? That's good. All right. So,
Merry Christmas, everybody.
so you'll talk directly to me, and then we'll loosen my D's and we'll talk directly to the camera.
All right.
Cool.
Yeah.
So let's get right down to the meat.
Let's get down to the nitty gritty.
Get down to the real important shit.
Okay, the important stuff.
I told you could change anything about radio. What would you change?
I would change everything about it.
And for you can also, if you don't mind, just if you could put my question sort of back in your answer.
All right.
I would change everything about radio.
I would change everything about radio because when I was a kid growing up in the '60s, radio to me it was life. You know, it was like DJs who had personality, and they were turning me on to. It was for me. It was the beginnings of what would, of my what would change my life basically. You know, like I used to listen to WMCA Good Guys in New York and Murray the K, and I got turned on to the Beatles and the Rolling Stones and the Kinks and the Who and all the great music. You know, I mean, the '60s were probably the most influential time in the history of rock and roll music. You know, so many different styles and sounds from the early '60s, the girl groups, Phil Spector, the Ronettes, the Beatles, soul, James Brown, and R&B, and then like the psychedelic period, and the Stooges, and the MC5, and the Doors. I mean, it was so much. There was so much, and then I remember from AM getting turned on to Freeform FM. That's when FM first came in. It was kind of exciting. It was progressive. It was had its own kind of aura about it, where they play the whole album. They play you hear Jimi Hendrix for the first time and stuff like that, Led Zeppelin and all that. And then things started changing in I guess in like the early '70s, and because I remember like when the Ramones first came out, it was like kind of us versus them, you know what I mean, almost, where them was the big corporate artists, but it was radio who was they didn't want to play anything new. They just wanted to stick to the safe stuff, at the time it was corporate rock. It was Journey and Foreigner and Boston and Toto and the Eagles and Linda Ronstadt and Kansas and then there was disco music, and it was Donna Summers and Don't Rock the Boat Baby and I remember them all, unfortunately. I mean, it was those few like pioneering types who, would take a chance on a band like us, like Vince Scelsa and Dennis Elsis at WNEW, and then at LIR years later, and PIX too in New York, and Rodney KROQ in LA, and BCN in Boston. Oedipus, and there were like a few like pioneers scattered here and there that were passionate about the music. You know what I mean? It wasn't strictly about big business. It was still about the music. You know what I mean? See, I feel there's a way for everyone to be able to make their quarters, but still be able to play. Like everything, like. Play the Beatles, play Motorhead, play U2, play Green Day and Offspring and Rancid and whatever. I mean, I don't see why all these bands can't coexist. It's not even that it's not even the coexisting. It's like kids want to be turned on to stuff. Kids are disgusted with radio. I mean, kids are like brainwashed to like this stuff. They don't know any better, you know. I don't knock a lot of these people because I know they're fans of the Ramones. There's a lot of music out there I can't stand today. I know it's very popular, you know, like this hip hop, rap, rock, heavy metal kind of stuff, you know, that to me it's all the same, it's all crap, you know what I mean? There's maybe one band that's, a couple of people out there, maybe Rage Against the Machine, at least they're like serious about what they do, you know? It's not like, oh, let's make some money and sound like Limp Bizkit or something like that, you know what I mean? It's like, you know, today it's not about being an artist, it's not about to me, like, you know, making music. Still, it's about the passion and love of making music, you know. And when I get, when I hear something like that on the radio, which is rare, I'm in heaven, you know. And when people ask me to DJ on the radio or at a club, I bring the MC5 and I bring, all kinds of stuff. But I like to turn people on to new things, you know, because that's what, to me, radio was all about, you know what I mean? And that's not what it's about anymore. It's just a formula, you know what I mean? Even like K-Rock, it's a formula, you know?
All right, so Sirius Satellite Radio. Getting back to the roots.
Well,
I change the music.
I think it's revolutionary because I know, like, as a fan, I remember, like, I remember this vividly, like, back in the 80s, like when KROQ first started out, and the Ramones we'd spent a lot of time out in California. It was kind of like our second home. And that station in the early days was so great, you know, they play like great music, you know. And I remember when we'd be driving up to San Francisco, you know, it would start to fade away, you know, and I wanted to hang on to every last drop of it, you know, before it disappeared. But now with Sirius Radio, I could drive from LA to New York and still have the same channel, which, you know, can't ask for more than that. You know what I mean?
That's great. Very cool. Tell us about what projects you're working on.
I'm working on a solo record now. I got Marky Ramone on a couple of tracks playing drums, and Daniel Ray on guitar, Andy Chernoff from the Dictators on bass. But it's in its kind of early stages, and I'm not done yet. You know, I've also been working with a bunch of different bands, like producing or co-producing Ronnie Spector, her new record with Daniel Ray, which is really great. To me, Ronnie's music was always kind of like early punk rock in its own kind of way, because Ronnie was always cutting edge, you know, and the Ronettes, they had their own thing before they even got involved with Phil Spector, you know what I mean? And she just blows me away. She gives me the chills. Her voice and her attitude, you know. But then there's a band called The Independents from South Carolina. They're into a kind of a horror punk ska kind of thing, and they're totally like over the top. I co-produced their record with Daniel Ray, and really outrageous kind of band, like the way bands like kind of used to be. You know what I mean? As far as, they're very much now, but they're exciting. You know, they're kind of more like maybe a little more old school. You know, and another band called Blackfire. They're a Navajo band. Navajo punk rock band that they mix kind of traditional with their roots with punk rock music, and they're very political, and it's just great stuff. It's just pure passion. It's just really great stuff. So, and I don't know. I'm always open for. People are always contacting me, asking me if I'll do this, do that. You know, I must have got asked to do like 1 million internet radio shows, and that's actually, when I first started out, I always wanted to play music, and my other kind of maybe dream was to, I always kind of thought of the idea of being a DJ as well, you know. And I guess my ultimate fantasy would be to own a radio station.
Okay. Commercials on radio. How do you feel about commercials on radio, and how do you feel about Sirius being commercial free?
Well, it's like It's like sugarless gum. No, it's, I think it's, you know, commercials become a kind of annoying after a while, you know. I mean, if you don't have to have commercials, why have them, you know? I mean, it's like PBS or something, you know? It's like watching a movie without it being chopped up with commercials. You know, you want to watch a movie through. You don't want any interruptions.
Cool. Dig it. All right, I think we got a lot of good stuff. Let's just bust into some IDs.